This is South Jersey sports leader, 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City. ESPN free mobile app.
And he scored!
Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort Studio, here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig live in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN. Phillies are in Atlanta for the next 3 days, and of course it's 7:15 pitch each night. You know, I love that. The consistency of the schedule. I'm a big fan of that. We'll get into the Phillies series coming up. They have a chance to bury the Braves once and for all. Also in Georgia this week, it's the Masters. We'll get into the best bets for the Masters coming up in less than 25 minutes. We will be joined by ESPN betting analyst and golf insider Pam Maldonado. Of course, she knows the golf game in and out, so we'll get great analysis from her coming up here on 97.3 ESPN. As always, you guys can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. And a little bit later in the show, one NFL free agent is basically petitioning to come to Philadelphia. We'll get into who, what, where, and why coming up as well here on 97.3 ESPN. But first, we got to get to the Phillies game tonight. Because while on paper, this looks like a series the Phillies should win pretty easily, right? It's going to be an incredible opportunity for Philadelphia to turn around and put a major distance between one of their biggest division rivals. Listen, the Braves are where they are in the division right now because they are a team that basically opened the year with injuries. And then they get Soler suspended. So they were already at a bit of a disadvantage, right? They were already in a situation where the Phillies were just far and away ahead of them. And we know historically, when you start the way the Braves have, you don't make the playoffs, okay? And obviously some of that is a little bit skewed. So I'm not going to act like the Braves are not a threat, that the Braves are not dangerous in this series, okay? Just because the Braves are 1-8, they're 6 games behind Philadelphia, I'm not going to dismiss them out of hand. But the key number for Atlanta so far this year is they have only scored 24 runs. That is among the least in all of baseball. So that gives you a clear indicator for the real reason why Atlanta is having problems. It's not all the reasons that you and I might point to, which is their pitching good enough? Sale had a horrible first start, better second start, he pitches tonight. You have a situation where you have no Soler, multiple injuries. But I think Atlanta is an example and a warning to Philadelphia. What you are seeing from the Braves this year, the Philadelphia Phillies have to do everything in their power to avoid becoming. Because this series is more than just about the starting pitchers, the division rivals. This is a clear warning to Philadelphia that you don't want to become Atlanta. You don't want to become the team that thinks they have a chance every year and then never do anything. Ever since the Atlanta Braves let Freddie Freeman walk in free agency, they have pretty much done nothing in the postseason. And this year looks like it's going to be a lost season if things keep trending the way they are. And for Philadelphia, it is a clear and precise warning that you don't want to become the team that goes out there and thinks you got it all figured out, that thinks you have the arms, that thinks you have the talent, and then injuries catch up to you, and you basically show yourself to be a fugazi. You show yourself to be completely and utterly fake. So for me, this is in one part, a genuine sign the Philadelphia Phillies organization don't want to be like Atlanta. You don't want to think you have it all figured out and then it blow up in your face. You don't want to be that team. Now, the other story of the game tonight, aside from the fact that you're basically a first-place team playing a last-place team, is the whole, remember we played the audio yesterday. Rob Thompson on Sunday told the media when he was asked about Edmundo Sosa, this is what the Phillies manager had to say about getting Sosa into the lineup.
We got to really look at this because so far it's real. It's 2 hits every game. He's played great at third. He's played great at short. He did well in center field yesterday. So, we really got to get into the lab and try to figure out some stuff to get him in the lineup.
Well, they went into the lab and they came up with this lineup today versus the left-handed pitching Sale. And by the way, aside from Sale, they only got one more lefty in the next several days. So this is probably the lineup you will see at least one more time in the next 2 weeks. And that being Turner, right-handed, Harper left, Bohm right, Schwarber left, and then Castellanos, Realmuto, Sosa, all right-handed, Stott left, Rojas right. The Phillies chose to put Bryson Stott, a player who has never faced Chris Sale in his entire career, into a lineup and keep Kepler and Marsh out. And if you look closely, you will notice that Edmundo Sosa is playing left field. Now, I'm not one of these people who looks at Sosa playing left field and sees it as a problem. To me, you got to find a way to put him in the lineup somewhere, as Thompson said. And they determined that Sosa in left field is a better option than Max Kepler batting against Chris Sale. So they are choosing one versus the other. That is the whole point of this lineup for the Phillies. Also, look at the assortment of the bats and realize they are still maintaining the top 4 in this lineup. So the Phillies are basically telling you that no matter what is going on with the other team, no matter what's going on with their team, they are maintaining the top 4 in some alignment. And I think that in and of itself is encouraging. The Phillies they're not trying to get too experimental with the lineup. They're trying to say, look, this is our lineup. This is what we do. Turner, Harper, Bohm, Schwarber. In some order, those are our big 4. Everyone else falls into place. And what's interesting is that when you look at the Phillies historically against Chris Sale, at least these Phillies, I should say, against Chris Sale, you realize that the Phillies historically have a very strange history. As I said, Bryson Stott has never seen Chris Sale in a batter's box until tonight. Alec Bohm is actually your best hitter. He is 2 for 5 in his career against Sale with an RBI on a walk and a strikeout. Schwarber is 1 for 6 with a home run. Harper is 1 for 3 with a strikeout. Sosa is 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Johan Rojas, 2 plate appearances against Chris Sale, 1 strikeout, 1 hit by a pitch. And then Nick Castellanos has the most career games against Sale with 19 strikeouts in 46 plate appearances, 2 walks, 6 RBIs. So the Phillies have not had a ton of success against Chris Sale, and I think that is going to be interesting. See how it plays out tonight. How does Philadelphia handle the left-handed pitcher when they don't have a good history against him? Think back to the Phillies this season. Before the game against Glasnow on Sunday, the Phillies have gotten pretty much almost no run production against another team's starting pitcher. So if you have a history of, so far this year, getting the most out of your offense when you go to the bullpen, I think this lineup is going to be a very interesting lineup to keep an eye on tonight, because you bench Bohm on Sunday. He's back in the lineup. He has the best career numbers against the Braves starting pitcher. You're going right-handed heavy. Again, no Marsh, no Kepler tonight. How does Sosa and Rojas handle the start? And do you get to a point late in the game if it's a tie game, let's just use an example. In the 7th or 8th inning, they bring in a right-handed pitcher. Are you putting Kepler and or Brandon Marsh up the bat in those situations and then bench Sosa and or Rojas? A lot of interesting questions going into this game. Oh, and by the way, the Phillies are starting Zach Wheeler, who is arguably the best pitcher in all of baseball. So, of course, it's the Phillies game tonight. We'll be getting into that tomorrow as well here on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you in the Ocean Casino Studios. Don't forget, coming up in about 12 minutes from now, we will talk with Pam Maldonado, ESPN betting analyst and golf insider. Over on the text board, Shaner and EHT chimes in at 609-403-0973. Shaner says, you think this Dodgers series was a cool early series season? What if we bury the Braves or if we get back in the division? I view this series as so much more important and any early game, any early season series. Let's go get some. And Nola needs a W during the series. Yeah, the Nola thing, we'll get to that in a minute, Shaner. But I thought it was interesting you mentioned about the fact that, yeah, the Dodgers series was cool. But it's series like this that matter. You want to bury your opponent. You want the opposition to feel hopeless moving forward. You don't want to give the Braves any modicum of hope. Now, Nola doesn't start again until Friday, so I'll get to Nola in a minute. But for me, at least, I look at this series as something very, very close to keep an eye on when it comes to if you could put the Braves away, as you said, it's probably going to set a tone for the rest of the year. Now, the pitching matchups that we need to talk about here. Wheeler and Sale tonight. Sale not as consistent as Wheeler so far this year. Wheeler could have a chance to really take hold of this game early. I'm fascinated by the Taijuan Walker game tomorrow. I don't really even care that Holmes is pitching for the Braves. To me, if Taijuan Walker gives you another 5 innings and gives you what they call or if he gives you a quality start with at least 6 innings, no more than 3 runs allowed. If he goes 6 innings, gives up 2 runs, or goes 5 innings and gives up 1 run, are you starting to look at Taijuan Walker a little differently moving forward? Do you look at Ranger Suarez a little differently moving forward? Is Suarez potentially a candidate for the bullpen if Walker keeps pitching well? And then you have Luzardo versus Schwellenbach, arguably 2 of the best stuff pitchers in all of baseball. 2 pitchers who have excellent stuff. So, in theory, Philadelphia should win tonight, and they should win on Thursday with Wheeler and Luzardo. The wild card is going to be tomorrow's game with Taijuan Walker. And as I said, if you come out of this series and you put the division opponent away, as Shaner and EHT says, you have a great opportunity to send a message. Now, the Nola question, let's hit on that really quick. Nola pitches on Friday against the St. Louis Cardinals. Remember, after the 3 games in Atlanta, they are traveling to St. Louis to play the Cardinals or the Phillies. Nola's future moving forward is going to be an interesting conversation because he has had a rocky start to the year. And it's hard to tell if it's mechanical, is it strategy, is it just as the game goes on, hitters are figuring him out. Whatever the reason, I am going to be interested in the Nola factor on Friday. And also, as I mentioned, you have one more lefty coming up in these next several days. Between now and this upcoming Tuesday, you got Sale and Liberator. I always want to call him my Liberator because that's what his name looks like, but it's actually pronounced Liberator. But you have 2 lefties coming up in basically the next 7 games. How much of the lineup that we are seeing tonight are we going to see in those games, or do they make tweaks? Weston Wilson, rehab assignment right now. Suarez, rehab assignment. Andrew Painter, first game pitching real action this Friday. The Phillies are a few weeks away from making some very interesting roster decisions, and I think the next several games is going to lean into what they really are, right? If you're getting good production out of Taijuan Walker, I'm just throwing out there, Cody Clemens and so on and so forth, what do you do about when Weston Wilson and Ranger Suarez come back? These are some questions that are going to be answered for us over the next several days. Let's get one more text before we hit the break. Dan in EHT chimes in at 609-403-0973. Dan in EHT says the Phillies are legit. They are so disrespected by the so-called national experts. They are loaded with talent up and down the lineup. Starting pitching is unreal. Well, here's the problem, Dan in EHT. I don't think that many people are disrespecting the Phillies. I think the majority of the real baseball people who cover baseball. I'm not talking about the blowhards and the know-nothings. I mean the real baseball people, right? Like, for example, and I'm not throwing Stephen A. Smith under the bus, but Stephen A. Smith can get on a UFC post show. He can talk about the event he just saw, but I know more about mixed martial arts than Stephen A. Smith does. Just like Stephen A. Smith is much more well-versed in basketball than I am. So I think some of these people you're referring to, Dan EHT, they're disrespecting the Phillies because they don't actually know baseball. They're so-called experts. You're right. The Phillies lineup is loaded with talent. The problem with the Phillies going forward is, can they get consistency out of this lineup? Can this lineup give you day in and day out the kind of consistency that you need? Because Dan EHT, you mentioned the starting pitching is unreal. We know the starting pitching is unreal. It's just a matter of, are the hitters going to show up? Even in the games that they win, they're leaving 6 to 10 runners on base. They're not bringing in runs consistently. They're just not a consistent lineup. So, at least for me, I look at the Phillies as a team that when they play to their potential, they're as good, if not better, than anyone in baseball. But they got to hit that peak when it matters the most. That is the postseason. Now, maybe part of the reason why we think the national media is disrespecting the Phillies is because there is still so much love for the Dodgers. There is a lack of interest in burying the Braves from the national media. I think that's what it's more about, and that is people realize it is April 8th, and we still have time to figure all this stuff out with the baseball, that the Braves and the Dodgers, who they are right now, may not necessarily be who they are in June, July, and August, when both teams should be more healthy. All right, keep the text coming in at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Coming up next, we'll talk some Masters with Pam Maldonado, ESPN betting analyst. Joins me, Josh Hennig, live on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card good for use at Jester's Dive Bar for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
At the Home Depot, Spring Black Friday is here, and we've got 14 days of deals to transform your space. So what are you working on? How about a quick and stylish patio furniture update? And what's outdoor dining without a shiny new grill? Find a wide selection of grills under $300, like the Next Grill 4-burner for only $229 at the Home Depot. Then add a little ambiance with string lights. Shop 14 days of deals during Spring Black Friday, now through April 16th at the Home Depot.
Did you know your skin is the largest organ of your body? Huh? That's why you should shower with Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash instead of plain old bar soap. Love your skin by super hydrating it with vitamin B3 and glorious notes of vanilla and shea. Did you know that my super hydrated skin is the second largest organ of my body? The first is my heart. Old Spice. Men have skin too. Old Spice Super Hydration Body Wash. 24/7 renewing moisture. With daily use.
Hey there, I'm Jack.
And I'm Stag.
We're just two deer that want to make sure you know it's deer season at your authorized John Deere dealer. The deer season that saves bucks. You know, like us.
Yeah, you can get $3,000 off select John Deere machines. No early wake-up calls or tree stands required.
Just a trip to your authorized dealer before June 2nd.
If you ask us, it's the only deer season worth celebrating.
Visit johndeere.com/deer season to find an authorized dealer and for complete finance details.
Find what you love, love what you find. A Total Wine and More. There's so much waiting for you. Spirits and beer, thousands of wines.
Only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly. Be21.
This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Progressive Insurance presents the Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN. Zach Wheeler getting the start tonight for the Phillies here in Atlanta to begin a 3-game series with the Braves. Philadelphia off to a 7-2 start to the season, and they lead the NL East. They're coming off taking 2 of 3 from the Dodgers over the weekend, while the Braves, they are off to a 1-8 start. They will go with Chris Sale. Wheeler is 1-0 with a 1.38 ERA with 18 strikeouts. Sale is 0-1, an ERA north of 5. The Sixers are in D.C. on Wednesday night to take on the Wizards. Catch the game right here at 97.3 ESPN. Philadelphia losing Monday night to Miami 117-105. Quentin Grimes had 29 points. The Flyers, they're also in action Wednesday at Madison Square Garden where they'll take on the New York Rangers. Philadelphia had a 3-game win streak snapped on Saturday in a 3-2 loss to the Montreal Canadiens. They have 5 games remaining on their season. You can catch that game on Rock 104. Progressive Insurance, bundle auto and home, renters or condo, and save with Progressive. I'm Tony Desiri, and that's your Sports Flash on 97.3 ESPN.
It happens more than you think. A customer wants, needs the goods and services your business offers. No matter how hard they try, they can't find you, but they find your competitor right there at the top of the results page.
And even if they do find your website, when they click, it's like a ghost town.
Hello?
Outdated, not compelling, and perhaps worse, it has information that's not accurate.
Y2K? But how do you fix that? At Town Square Interactive, we have the tools to help you maximize your online presence. Just go to mylocalcustomers.com and start by getting a free local customer analysis.
This online tool will show you just how many customers in your area you could be reaching. To get in front of those customers, we will build a premium website for your business.
One that shows up well in web searches and converts website clicks into phone calls, appointments, and foot traffic.
It's simple, it's fast, and it's affordable. Go to mylocalcustomers.com and get started by getting your free local customer analysis today.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. Heads up to farmers and gardeners of the Garden State. A widespread freeze is forecast for tonight. Clear skies, cold temperatures. We bottom out around 30. The wind will be calmer tomorrow. We'll see lots of sunshine. Temperatures still on the cool side, high of 50. Mostly cloudy with scattered rain showers moving in Thursday, high 53. Lots of rain expected on Friday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
Relay for Life of Atlantic County is a chance to celebrate cancer survivors and caregivers, remembered loved ones, and fight back against every cancer as we join together for every life. Funds raised support the American Cancer Society mission of ending cancer as we know it for everyone. That means funding cancer research breakthroughs that can help save lives and providing free patient and caregiver support. Visit relayforlife.org/Atlantic County NJ and join us on May 31st at 1 p.m. at the Police Activities League in Egg Harbor Township.
This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
We'll check back in the text board a little bit later this hour. Keep them coming in. 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Before we get back to the text right now, let's get to the Masters. I mean, is it really a coincidence? The Phillies are in Georgia at the same time the Masters is going on. Of course it's a coincidence. But anyway, we're still going down there. We got Pam Maldonado joining us. Of course, she is ESPN betting analyst, as well as I call her a golf insider because she's the only person I know who legitimately follows golf more than just the Masters and maybe like 2 other tournaments. So, Pam, I always appreciate you jumping on. It's been a while since we talked on the radio. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. We have the Masters. The weather finally poked out, so that means that the sun, that means I can actually go play golf this weekend. So it's going to be a great weekend.
So it's a win-win for everybody, you're saying.
It's a win-win for everybody. A happy Pam is a happy life.
Nice. So before we get to the particulars of who's who in this tournament, you know how most people are, right? They don't really watch golf for January, February, March, because we got the NFL playoffs and we got the NCAA tournament. So give people an understanding of, if they haven't watched golf until this week, what do they need to know?
Scottie Scheffler is the best golfer in the world by far, and he has been. This year, he's a little less so, which means there's other players like Rory McIlroy who can come into the mix. So you have Scottie Scheffler, and that's it. That's like the biggest storyline is he's won the Masters twice. He's the only player to have won the Players' Championship back-to-back years. So he's really that good in that he has been compared to that of Tiger Woods already. Now, he's not at that level yet, of course, because he's only been on tour less than Tiger Woods has, but he's definitely has that capability. There are other players like Rory McIlroy who is chasing the career Grand Slam, which means that he has won every major on tour. He's trying to do that this year by completing the only major that he has not won yet, and that's the Masters. So when he does, because I think it's going to happen, yes, he will be one of the few players to have done so. So those are going to be like the two biggest storylines entering the Masters this week.
All right, so we'll get to your boy Scotty in just a bit, because I know you're basically a Scottie Scheffler stan if anybody follows Pam on social media. But I went to Rory, because Rory's a guy that I feel like, for me, every tournament, I'm looking at him as a top 5 or a top 10 betting pick. What makes it different this time round for Rory compared to years past?
So there's a lot going on this year as far as let's get to the basics of it first. Rory McIlroy, you said you love betting him for a top 10. That's exactly correct, because McIlroy's base as a player is more often than not most players' ceilings. So even on a bad day for McIlroy, he finished T5. Oh, so sad. That's how good of a player he is, that we just expect so much more from him. This year, there's a lot of added pressure because of that narrative that he hasn't won Masters. This is his chance because he's playing the best golf out of anyone in the 2025 season. He's mentally ready. He's statistically, all the numbers there line up to him. He's trending perfectly into Augusta. So his top 10 odds are minus 140. That's not exactly value. And he's also plus 650, the second tournament favorite to win this tournament. That's only the second time that McIlroy in his career has been shorter than 10-1 odds. So it's a lot of expectation that McIlroy can actually win this tournament.
When it comes to expectations, of course, folks can check out your full breakdown of betting on the Masters over at ESPN.com right now. When it comes to expectations, McIlroy, Scheffler, who is somebody who people have expectations for, but you're saying buyer beware? Because every year I feel like people ask me, who should I avoid when it comes to betting the Masters?
I think Bryson DeChambeau is one of those players. I think anyone actually that's a live player. That includes Jon Rahm, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau. These are all flashy names. We know their names. We know their personalities, especially DeChambeau because of his YouTube channel. But these are the buyer beware situations in that they are not in the same format as a live player than that of the PGA Tour. So how much of an effect does that really have? Well, we've seen them contend in majors in the past. The buyer beware aspect for DeChambeau is he's playing some fantastic golf this season, except he has a terrible history when it comes to playing at Augusta. He has lost strokes around the green every time that he has played the Masters. That is so crucial. If you want to shoot low, you have to know how to navigate the undulation of this course. And because he never has been able to attack that, well, that's a flag against him. Rahm, his buyer beware situation becomes that he is so great of a player in that I would not be surprised if he won this tournament. But he did come off a T45 last year at the Masters. So it's how much of a mental challenge is this tournament going to be for him as a live player coming off a bad result, entering a major?
And we literally already have people listening on 97.3 ESPN texting in saying, okay, I'm not going to bet Bryson DeChambeau now.
I wouldn't. He's actually on my fade list. I would not recommend. I would wait for him to do any other major but Augusta. Augusta requires precision and patience. And you cannot and knowing how to navigate not just the putting surfaces because of bent grass, but it's just so hilly and there's just so much undulation across the course that somebody who can be erratic like DeChambeau, who just bombs it off the tee, this is not the course for him. He can do well with his irons, but when you get around the greens, it really does come into play, especially with the rain. It's supposed to be raining this weekend too, and that's going to change how players attack the course.
All right, really quick, we'll get to that point in a minute because I didn't even realize that about the forecast. I got to admit, I don't look about the forecast beyond Friday at this point. It's pretty early in the week for me. But that's why we're talking with Pam Maldonado, ESPN Bet. You can follow her on Twitter at Pamela. I always mess up your X, so that's why I got it streaming on the bottom of the YouTube channel here. But it's Pamela.Maldonado35 on Instagram. I can get that right.
Yeah.
There's just too many weird placement of letters for me with the X platform, but that's just me. But over at ESPN.com, someone who you do like, I want to get into here. You do like Collin Morikawa, and I am fascinated by this because Morikawa is a guy who I feel like he's always in these conversations, right? He's always a guy that people may, like they have a soft spot for them. So what is about Morikawa this year in 2025 that makes Pam Maldonado say you need to get in on that rising stock?
I am convinced that Morikawa, if he's not winning the Masters, he is winning a major this season because he is the best player. I talk about McIlroy and Scheffler. If it's not either of those players, it is Morikawa. Literally, statistically, he is the best player on tour, and he's my pick to win this tournament because he's trending positively entering Augusta. He's gained strokes putting in 4 straight Masters events, which is something that he doesn't do. He is not known for his putting skills. So the fact that he can gain with the flat stick every time he plays here, that just talks about the level of comfortability that he has. And besides Scheffler, it's only he and Scheffler who have back-to-back Masters top 10 finishes. Only 2 players, and not named McIlroy. He's first on approach, he's first on ball striking, he's first from tee to green, and he's second in strokes gained total, and yet he's not even the top 3 favorite of odds. Oh, and by the way, he was in the final group last year, has already 2 majors under his belt, so he knows how to win on a Sunday. He thrives in this weather, which should be rainy, and the putter is a wild card, but because he's so great with the ball striking, that's where you can get a lot of the upside. So I would consider him as an outright if you think that he can handle the Augusta greens, and I absolutely believe that he can. And the argument has been he's passive on Sundays. That's why he hasn't won as of late. Okay, well, that can be made. Yes, he's not choking, but he's also not forcing. So what I love about Morikawa is that he is playing smart golf. He's sticking to his game. And if the putts drop, he's winning. And he's winning by margin.
All right, let's get to this weather you keep talking about. Because obviously for anyone who has ever played any sport in their life, there's nothing worse than thinking you're going to have a nice weather day. And then you get out there and it feels like your life has been ruined by the weather. Or at least in my case, your cleats get stuck in a puddle and you slip and fall and you mess up your knee. But that's a story for another day. Talk to us about how the weather can impact this weekend at the Masters.
Well, it's only Tuesday, so the weather can change, so keep that in mind. So I'm speaking as if it is set in stone. Thursday, it's supposed to be dry. So what that means is the greens are going to firm up, and they're going to be firm and fast, which gives multiple players free reins on anybody's game. That means anybody can go low. If you're putting well, if you're struggling with the putter, that means a little bit more volatility up the leaderboard. Now, Friday is supposed to be raining. That means that the greens are going to soften, which means the players who are solid with their ball striking, if they can laser point where they want their ball to go, it gives them a better opportunity. So you want the best iron players on tour. You want the bombers like Rory McIlroy you're not going to get a lot of roll because of that rain. So people like McIlroy who can bomb it downfield, or even like DeChambeau, they're going to have an advantage. So you're kind of looking for 2 different players on a Thursday and a Friday, and then there should be no weather in the situation come the weekend, which means it's back to free range. So if the players who can survive the Thursday firm conditions and then survive the Friday. The course is going to play a little bit longer. It's going to be a little bit colder. It's going to be rainy and slippery and all those things. Then you're going to be in really good contention to finish out the weekend.
All right, before I let you go, because I promise I'll let you get back to Scotty Scheffler, okay? So, and again, if you follow Pam Maldonado on social media, you know that she is on top of golf infinitum, basically. But Scotty Scheffler is like one of her main guys she always focuses on and goes to. In a tournament like this, you mentioned earlier in the conversation that he is not at apex Scheffler, but obviously, 90% of Scotty Scheffler's best is still better than 90% of the PGA Tour, right? So for you, what is a realistic expectation for someone who wants to place a wager on Scheffler? Are you saying, hey, if you maybe are a little bit iffy on him winning, are you saying go top 5, you feel comfortable about that? Do you think Scheffler, like if you had to line up the big 3 in terms of the favorites, Scheffler obviously is number 1 at ESPN Bet, plus 475. So are you saying, look, ride with Scheffler, or you know what, this might be a top 5, that might be a safer wager?
So what I see about Scheffler is that this time last year, I was absolutely convinced that he was winning the Masters, and he did. This year, I don't have that same conviction with him, though I do believe, yes, he will still be in the mix, simply because of his pedigree. He's been the best player on tour for the last couple of seasons now, and that's in part because of his ball striking. He's the best iron player on tour. He's so smart off the tee that he doesn't put himself into trouble. So you're going to see from Scheffler a player who is relentless from tee to green. He is a machine. He's an elite ball striker. But what we've seen from him in 2025 is that putting situation, his putting woes, they've really come back into play. So if the greens are going to be firmer on Thursday, potentially you're going to get a much better number live on him to either finish in the top 10 or to win. I don't like him to win this tournament, so I would be targeting the top 10 market. I think Scheffler is going to be one of those players that's not going to have any breakout round where he's just like super low, 8 under, 9, nothing crazy like that. But he's going to kind of be coasting. He's going to always just be like, oh, there's Scheffler's name. But he's not standing out in any particular way. He's just a solid player overall. And I think because of that, there's a potential that he could get a better number. And I would be looking for the top 10 market if he does fall out of the top 5, even the top 10 after round 1.
For more analysis on the 2025 Masters, go to ESPN.com. Check out Pam Maldonado's full breakdown of how to bet the Masters, and follow her on social media. Just type in Pamela Maldonado. You'll find her, because obviously, like I said, I'm horrible at alliterating your X handle. So, Pam, I appreciate you jumping on, taking the time. I know you're very busy. We'll talk again soon.
All right, thanks. Good luck, guys.
Josh Hennig back here in the Ocean Casino Resort Studios here on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. We'll get to some of you guys' texts a little bit on the other side. I see Jeff from Ocean City, as well as Dan and EHC chiming in at 609-403-0973. Before we wrap up the Masters talk, I want to hit on one point. For someone like Pam Maldonado to sit here and say, hey, Colin Morikawa, that's someone you want to ride. Don't take Scheffler to win the whole thing. That gives you a little bit of an insight into where I am probably going to lean this week. As you guys know, every year when it comes to the golf majors, me and Dave Weinberg give out our 5 favorite top 10 finishers. And I feel pretty comfortable saying you just heard 3 of them in that conversation. But you also heard who we're not touching. Bryson DeChambeau, Jon Rahm, the live golfers. And it's going to be interesting moving forward. How long does golf go with the PGA and the live tour being separate? At what point do those tours come together? Because we saw this year a third golf element get factored in. We didn't have time to talk about it was with Pam Maldonado, but Tiger Woods and Rory's side gig, the indoor golf, right? That's been on ESPN for months. I have to wonder, moving forward, is that going to be rolled into the conversation? Are we going to start looking at how the golfers did on the golf simulation tour versus the Live Tour and say, well, one tour is better for the golfers than another. It's just something to keep an eye on and think about, because I am a big believer in the more information you have, the better. You know, the reason why I did well in the tournament, and obviously I joked a little bit that there's some luck involved, and there is some luck involved. But when we told you last night Florida was going to win here on 97.3 ESPN, and I told you to take the under in the game, it was because information is what leads you to outcomes. You don't get picks right if your information is not correct consistently. And so one of the reasons why, you know, and thanks to all of you who have said, hey, congratulations, Josh, because Mike Gill announced on the Sports Bash earlier today on 97.3 ESPN that I finished third in their big NCAA tournament pool. This was the first year, probably the first time, and I want to say either 8 to 10 years that I really took the bracket seriously. And I know that sounds kind of disingenuous, but hear me out for a second. For those who don't know, I got a lot going on, okay? I do way more than talk behind a microphone every day at 97.3 ESPN. So this was the first year that I actually sat down, set aside time, and said, okay, I'm going to take time on this and that day to focus in on this. And you learn a lot when you actually do your research, when you take the time. You guys know how well I do during the football season with the picks. And you guys know, you know, when somebody comes to the table with information, knowledge is power and we all win. That's why I like having guests like Pam Maldonado on the show, because she knows more golf than I do. And if she says something, I'm taking it to the bank. Because I'm telling you guys, if you don't follow her on social media, that woman is a golf savant, okay? She sees stuff that I sit back and I'm like, oh, I never thought of that. All right, we can roll with that. So I like to bring you guys as much information as possible when it comes with your side of entertainment with sports here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Speaking of entertainment value, well, you know what time it is. It's time for your final opportunity today for you to qualify for Mike Gill's Eagles draft party. All right, you heard that sounder. That means I need caller number 7 at 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller number 7, you are in for this year's Eagles draft party, where you have the opportunity to win club box seats for an Eagles game this season, as well as an overnight stay at Ocean Casino Resort, as well as Ocean Casino Resort gift cards and tickets. But you gotta first get in on the action. Qualifier is caller number 7 at 609-573-3776. 609-573-3776. Caller number 7, you are in. And don't forget, you must be present on Thursday, April 24th at Top Golf inside Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
As promised, we'll get back to the text board now, 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. And we are live, as always, on my YouTube channel at Josh Hennig. Jeff from Ocean City says, congrats on the NCAA plays last night. Do you have any props for the Phillies game? Great Masters talk with Pam. That's from Jeff at Ocean City. Well, Jeff, thank you for tuning in as always. So for me, a night like tonight with the Phillies game, if I'm going to go with anything, and I really mean anything with the game tonight, I think your best bet for a game like tonight is strikeouts. Because for as much as we know the Phillies are talented, they do swing and miss. And multiple Phillies who are in the lineup tonight have a history of not playing that well against a team like, against a pitcher like Chris Sale. So for me, at least, I am zeroing in on both sides getting strikeouts, okay? I would take both the Wheeler and the Sale over on the strikeout props, okay? I think both of those are smart plays. To me, if you're going to go any direction, that's the direction I go in. I'm not really feeling any other props for the game tonight. I just think that the props, when it comes to the betting odds, when you're looking at pitchers like Sale and you're looking at a pitcher like Wheeler, you know they're strikeout guys. You know that this is what they do, right? And Wheeler actually has more strikeouts on the year than Sale. Wheeler in 2 starts, he's averaging 9 strikeouts a start. Sale is averaging 6. So, and remember, Sale had one horrible start, okay? I'm not going to hold one garbage start against a guy with the Cy Young Award winner last year. So, to me, I would say, whatever your favorite sports book is, get the over on the prop. I'm trying to find it right now, actually. I got to admit my internet is not being very cooperative, but that's not very surprising. Anyway, let me see here. I'm going to try one more website to see if we can get an actual number on these pitching props. Here we go. What am I doing with strikeouts here? Strikeouts over under. Finally. Zach Wheeler over 7.5. Oh my goodness, he's going to hit that. Now, Sale is over 6.5 at -170 I'm seeing. But if you go Sale or 8 or more, it's +110. So you can go over 7.5 with Wheeler, over 8 with Sale, and you're getting plus odds on both. So that's probably the direction I'm going in. By the way, our latest qualifier was Cole from Atlantic City. Cole is in for the Eagles Draft Party Contest. Of course, as the qualifier, you must be present on Thursday, April 24th, for the chance to win Eagles Club Box tees, as well as great prizes from Ocean Casino Resort. Your next opportunity to qualify is tomorrow morning during Unsportsmanlike, during the 6, 7, and 8 o'clock hours right here on 97.3 ESPN. We'll finally hear from Dan EHT. He says the Phillies are way better than the Mets. Starting pitching is 10 times better. The lineup is 5 times better. Last postseason was similar to the year before. With the Diamondbacks, Phillies ran into one-year wonders. Phillies are better than all the teams this year. Well, I don't know about all the teams, but I think it's very fair to say the Phillies have a better starting staff than the Mets. They have a better lineup than a lot of teams in baseball. I think it'll be very interesting to see. If the Dodgers are fully healthy, the Phillies are fully healthy, what do both those teams look like in an NLCS? I'm Josh Hennig. Have a great night, everybody.
Spring is here and summer's right around the corner. Is your home ready to handle the heat? Make sure it is with Broadleys Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Right now, when you purchase a full HVAC system, Broadleys will throw in a brand new hot water heater for free. That's an $1,800 value at no cost to you. But hurry, this limited time spring special won't last. Call Broadleys today for your free estimate at 609-390-3907 or visit broadleys.net to schedule online.